Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, collecting Shinra Tensei at the beginning. Chapter 221 Ghost. After condensing the full body Susanoo, it moved whatever Hanyu thought in his heart, posing a very handsome pose, which made Hanyu feel refreshed. It feels like playing with a large super action figure, which is amazing. Hanyu was a little excited, and kept asking Susanoo to pose in various handsome knife-holding poses, which looked very much like a child who just got a new toy. Although this is the first time for Hanyu to condense Susanoo, similar chakra materialization, that is, energy materialization, this kind of thing is not too familiar to him. After all, he is a person who has perfected the green light ring. Even if this is the first time he has opened Susanoo, for him, it is just a green light ring condensed item. Is this Sharingan? It looks really powerful. Wanda said with some admiration at this time. Why are there such weird things around you? To be honest, it's a good thing you are not a bad person, otherwise the universe may be taken over by you. Hearing this, Hanyu smiled and said, "Be confident, remove the possible, you will definitely be occupied by me." Hanyu narrowed his eyes slightly, and retracted his chakra to make the Susanoo in front of him disappear. He tossed the eye drops in his hand up and down, and said with a smile, "How about it, should you drop it or not?" "Did it I want me to." Seeing that it was so interesting, Ganada ran over to Wanda one step ahead, and said excitedly, she also thought it was very fun, with an expression like the kid next door who was greedy for other people's new toys. "Of course, you can do it first." Hanyu handed her the eye drops without hesitation at all. If he dared to give it, he would naturally have the ability to get it back. It's just that there is no need to take back things that can be given out through his hands. Hanyu believes that his eyes can't be wrong. Ganada hurriedly took 2 drops of Sharingan eye drops, then closed her eyes to feel it. She blinked, then picked up the mirror and looked at it, a little puzzled. Why hasn't mine changed? Hanyu thought for a while and said, "Everyone's ability to accept is different. You can sit in a chair next to you, squint for a while, and slowly wait for your eyes to open." Ganada nodded, and hurried to find a chair. 10 seconds later, she dragged 2 chairs into the workshop, and she didn't forget to bring one for Wanda. Seeing that her action was the most perfect assist, Wanda looked at Hanyu and hesitated, because this kind of action was really terrifying, and no normal person would dare to do it. But this is not an ordinary thing, nor is it for ordinary people, Wanda comforted herself in her heart, at least it was not dug out from other people's eye sockets, it should be regarded as a medicine added to the eye drops. Thinking in this way, Wanda shook her teeth, took the bottle of eye drops with some hesitation, and looked at Hanyu, who kept a gentle smile, which gave her confidence invisibly. After Hanyu did this, Wanda finally stopped hesitating and raised her head to drip 2 eye drops. The strange feeling as imagined did not come, but a cool feeling. It wasn't dazzling or intense, and it was massaging her eyeballs invisible, blending into Wanda's eyeballs. After dripping, Wanda found a chair to sit down, squinted her eyes, and waited quietly. After about 3 minutes, the first person who felt it was Ganada. Come on, I feel my eyes have changed." Ganada excitedly took the mirror that had been placed beside her, and when she looked at it, her eyes became as blood-red as Hanyu's before. In her eyes, a circle of black rings with a small black guyu was looking at her. His eyes slowly circled. "Ah, why did I hook Jade, am I so bad?" Seeing the Sharingan with 1 guyu in her eyes, Ganada was a little discouraged. She thought she started with 3 guyu anyway, but she didn't expect to just guyu. At the same time, Wanda also had a feeling. She took a look in the mirror, and there were 2 hooks in the Sharingan in her eyes. At the beginning, 2 guyu's sharing eyes were awakened, which shows that Wanda is still very talented in this area. It's not fair, why Wanda has 2 Sharingans of guyu, but I only have 1. Ganada puffed her mouth out angrily, and said angrily. Hanyu smiled helplessly, touched her head, and said, "The awakening of Sharingan is not fixed. I think the reason why Wanda can open Guyu Sharingan as soon as she opens it is because of the magic she practiced. It has the effect of strengthening the spirit, so it has reached this level. What about you? You don't practice magic, why did you write Sharingan with kaleidoscope in the first place?" Ganada said with her mouth puffed up. "Me? Of course I'm different." Hanyu said, "I'm the manager of this store. I'm very strong. I also have a green light ring that represents will. My mental strength is far superior. In this regard, Perhaps most of the gods are inferior to me. Han Yu was right in saying this. After all, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even though things have changed after Han Yu's arrival, most of the settings have not changed. For example, most of the planets and aliens who claim to be gods in the Marvel Universe rely on technology, and the real power of gods may only be possessed by a few great gods who are no more than 10 fingers. Most of the gods have strong attacks, but their soul power, that is, their spiritual power, is not strong. They are said to be gods, but they are actually super technical aliens. Han uses true divine power. His soul power can crush 99% of the people in the Marvel Universe. He was a little surprised to awaken the kaleidoscope Sharingan at the beginning, but he was not surprised for too long, which is normal. If this reaches the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan from the very beginning, it will be something worth shouting about. Oh well. Hearing what Han Yu said, Ganada curled her lips a little sadly. I knew that I had practiced a lot in terms of mental power before, and now I have to start with Erguyo Sharingan. After a short period of sadness, Ganada was immersed in releasing and retracting Sharingan, holding a mirror and looking at her eyeballs from normal to blood red. She thought it was quite fun. Wanda also began to get acquainted with Sharingan under the guidance of Han Yu. At this time, the door of the workshop was pushed open, and Kuei Yan's voice came from outside. Boss, you are here, what shall we have for dinner tonight? Kuei Yan looked at the three of Han Yu whose eyes had turned blood red, and in the next second, his facial features twisted into an extremely exaggerated expression. There is Ghost Ah. Chapter 222 Poor Ebony Throat. Kuei Yan was a big man, and his voice was sharper than that of a woman. Han Yu and the three of them looked at each other, and quickly retracted their Sharingan, just about to comfort Kuei Yan. But he disappeared with a squeaky sound, but his voice kept ringing, it sounded like he ran to his own room. This guy has seen big scenes anyway, why is he so timid? Seeing his brother showing such an expression, Wanda rolled her eyes in a little annoyance. Who in our grocery store is not more terrifying than ghosts, as for being frightened like this? Han Yu was also a little helpless, but after thinking about it, he opened the door and came in and saw three people with blood-red eyes, which was really scary. So the three found him in Kuei Yan's room, explained to him, and learned that it was not a ghost. Kuei Yan's ability to accept was faster than expected, and immediately said that he wanted to drop it. After a while, Ultron also walked in, saying that he wanted to drop too. You know all of this? Kuei Yan asked in surprise. You installed a camera in my room, didn't you? Tell me the truth, where did you put it? I'm pretending to be your head. I didn't count how loud I just yelled. My room is next to yours. It's hard not to hear it. Ultron glanced at Kuei Yan, his eyes full of contempt. Seeing that Ao Juang also came to get involved, Han Yu naturally had no objection. The people present were all people he could trust completely. If they could open Sharingan, it would be great. Rub to rise. Soon, the results of the Sharingan opening of Ultron and the others came out. Kuei Yan is a 1-go jade riding wheel, and Ao Juang has reached 3-go jade, which is the strongest except Han Yu. Seeing this scene, Ganada almost burst into tears. Seeing her grabbing the corner of Han Yu's clothes, she choked up in her words, and said, I'm actually on the same level as this guy. No, I can't go on like this. Han Yu, you taught me to practice, you taught me to become stronger. Invisibly, Kuei Yan was shot in the knee with an arrow, and said helplessly, it's not good to be on the same level as me, I'm not very weak. You can be scared by this, I think Ganada is right. Ultron calmly gave Kuei Yan another knife. Kuei Yan sat on the side with a little heartache. It seemed that this matter could be used as a joke for a long time, but in retrospect, he regretted it. If he yelled softer, they would not be said so. However, if you want to improve your pupil power, you have to use Sharingan to fight. How can we find such an opponent? We can't fly in the universe every day to find others to fight. Ultron said. Wanda and the others nodded in agreement with the question he said. Indeed, the improvement of the pupil power of Sharingan does not mean that it can be improved by taking it out every day to look around. It must go through battles, and it cannot be too simple to fight. Only when the combat intensity reaches a certain level can the pupil power of Sharingan be improved. Well, I've also thought of this. With our strength, even Pietro, who is afraid of ghosts and can scream, can easily become the king of the earth. It is impossible to improve Sharingan. Han Yu said. Quicksilver. Another arrow was shot in the knee, and Kuei Yin looked at Han Yu with complicated eyes. He didn't expect the arrow to come so fast, which really caught people off guard. By the way, Han Yu, didn't we catch an ugly guy just now? He is a very strong magician. I feel that the magic fluctuations on his body are not weak. Yu grabbed the ebony throat and said. Although Ganada didn't make a move at the time, she could also feel the magical fluctuations emanating from Ebony Ma's body. When it comes to single universe level existences like Han Yu and Ganada, people like Ebony Throat, in their eyes, are as clearly marked with ability data, which can be seen clearly at a glance. Ganada also saw that Ebony Ma's magic level was very strong. If it was just magic, she would not be the opponent of the latter. It's a pity that the hard power is there. No matter how strong the Ebony Throat is, it is still at a level that has not even reached the level of the gods of the Father. Ganada and Han Yu can turn him into nothingness with a flick of their fingers. Han Yu even wanted to say the last sentence, I'm sorry, but if you have the strength, you can really do whatever you want. When Ganada mentioned Ebony Throat, Han Yu's eyes lit up, and he murmured, good idea, as a master of magic, Ebony Throat must also be very strong in illusion, so it can be used as a training partner for our Sharingan. Han Yu said, but you have to pay attention. When fighting against him, unless it's life-threatening, don't use your own strength, or you won't be able to fight at all. You must make full use of Sharingan, or you won't be able to exercise at all. Effect. Several people nodded in understanding. Seeing this, Han Yu stretched out his hand and made a move. Ebony Throat, who was suffering from countless illusions downstairs, was lifted up by an invisible force and flew upstairs. Seeing the current Ebony Throat, even a person as receptive as Ao Chuang couldn't help frowning. Now the Ebony Throat has become shriveled skin, it looks like a broken balloon tightly wrapped around something. If they can all feel his breath is still there, they think it is a mummy. Seeing this tragic situation, Han Yu didn't show a trace of intolerance. The illusion he created for Ebony Throat centered on the innocent people he had killed. The innocent people he killed were too large in number, and they had already accumulated into a huge wave of resentment, which stayed by his side for a long time. Ebony Ma also noticed it, but he didn't care at all. He suppressed them with his powerful magic attainments, and used magic to extract their resentment, turning it into his own magic source, and at the same time deliberately controlled them so that they would not dissipate. This kind of behavior can be described as murderous. Even after death, people are unwilling to let go of their souls. What a terrible behavior! Han Yu discovered this resentment in the spiritual world of Ebony Throat, released them, and gave them a trace of the power of reality gems. This effect, even if it is just a little bit, will increase their strength by tens or even hundreds of times. With the current state of Ebony Ma, it is impossible to deal with it. And Han Yu also used a trace of green light energy to protect his mind to prevent him from going crazy too quickly. This is not to protect him, but to let him have more time to be tortured by these resentful spirits. This is a debt he should repay. If Han Yu hadn't made a move, the people on Earth would have become one of these wraiths, so when he struck, he didn't have any hesitation, and he felt as much pain as he wanted. So now, in less than an hour, Ebony Ma has become what it is now. It must have been tortured terribly by those wraiths. Chapter 223. Han Yu shook his head tisk-tisk, but there was a smile in his eyes. He was naturally happy to see his enemy look so miserable. The sentence being kind to the enemy is cruel to oneself. Han Yu felt very reasonable and kept it in his heart all the time. As long as the other party can't talk to each other, it must be the other party who died tragically. For this Ebony Throat, Ultron and Kuei Yin naturally don't know who it is. When this guy made trouble earlier, Ultron and Kuei Yin wanted to go downstairs to help, but they saw Han Yureo looking at each other with interest and banging the door there. Then they understood that it was Han Yu who wanted to have fun, so they didn't bother, and went upstairs to do their own thing. There is no need for the two of them to worry about Han Yu doing it himself. If Han Yu can't solve it, Kuei Yin and Ultron will go to pick the cemetery first. How can we save him from being so sick, can't we? Ganada looked at Han Yu with a questioning look in her eyes. Wanda also nodded, and said, this guy has become so skinny now, both physically and mentally, he has become very fragile. Even Pietro with a hook can deal with him safely, so we are even more vulnerable. Needless to say. Kuei Yin was silent. Wanda, you are my younger sister, is there anyone who cheats my brother like this, and stabs her knees with arrows and arrows? Han Yu couldn't help laughing because of his bitterness. It seemed that this matter would not be over for a while. Immediately, he flexed his right index finger and thumb, and a golden broad bean appeared on his hand. He said with a light smile, "Eat a fairy bean and you will be saved." Fairy bean? Ganada looked curiously at the bean in Han Yu's hand. She didn't feel any powerful energy in the bean, it just looked so golden and beautiful. Seeing that Han Yu said so, then this bean called fairy bean must have its own advantages. After all, Han Yu has never lacked strange things here. Ganada cupped her hands at Ebony Throat, signaling Han Yu to eat it for him quickly. She couldn't wait to see the effect of this fairy bean. Han Yu was holding the fairy bean and was about to give it to Ebony Throat when Kuei Yin suddenly stopped him and said, "Wait a minute, let's open Sharingan first, and see how this guy reacts." What he said was obviously a little unbelievable, and Kuei Yin would show such an expression if he didn't believe it. Normal people would not be frightened when they see blood-red eyes like Sharingan appear in other people's eyes. Kuei Yin thought that Ebony Throat would also show this expression when he saw it, so he said so. Hearing this, Han Yu nodded with a smile and did not object. The others didn't mind seeing Han Yu, so they naturally had nothing to say. With a thought, everything from one Guyo sharing Sharingan to kaleidoscope sharing Sharingan appeared in everyone's eye sockets. Seeing the Sharingan in Kuei Yin's eyes, apart from Han Yu, the rest of the people had teasing expressions on their faces. Looking at their expressions, Kuei Yin felt a little helpless. Although he felt uncomfortable, he was not too angry. These guys in front of me kept laughing at me, that's because they can only laugh at now. As long as they are Han Yu's friends, they can't slow down in this aspect of cultivation. As long as they want to practice Sharingan, they can ask Han Yu. And the latter will give them a feasible execution method to make their cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. It will definitely become stronger in the future, so the only way to laugh at it is now. If someone else becomes like this, Kuei Yin will also laugh at the other party like this. It can only be said that he is unlucky. There was a smile in Han Yu's eyes. He was not surprised by Kuei Yin's Guyo Sharingan, because among the 5 people present, only the latter had not worked hard on mental power. Needless to say, Han Yu's spiritual power, the indestructible godhead given by the system from the very beginning, made his spiritual power already reach its peak. Ganada is a single universe-level god. Even if he doesn't practice spiritual power, it is impossible to be far behind in this respect. Ao Chuang and Wanda, one is a supercomputer in the body of a sky demon puppet at the peak of Dozun, which makes his spiritual power extremely powerful, while the other is a supreme mage who has practiced illusion magic, so he naturally cultivates spiritual power and has with chaos magic as the background, her starting point is naturally not low. To sum up, Kuei Yin is the only one who is the most pitiful. If it weren't for Han Yu's use of green light energy when he fused the Sharingan and eye drops, the eye drops would contain green light energy, which would give additional strength to the holder of the green light ring. Otherwise, Han Yu felt that Kuei Yin's Sharingan could not even be opened stably, and it might have to be closed after opening for an hour and a half. After everyone opened Sharingan, Han Yu stepped forward and threw the celestial beans into the Ebony Throat. The celestial beans melted in the mouth, and immediately turned into a golden warm current flowing through his internal organs. The originally shriveled limbs swelled rapidly at this time, becoming stronger than before. Ganada looked at this scene in surprise, and exclaimed, "This is too fast, I have never seen any planet with medical technology that can reach this level." She has a lot of scientific and technological knowledge in her mind. If it weren't for the cosmic tapeworm in her body that has been interfering with her, Ganada's achievements in science and technology must not be bad. Han Yu smiled. These reactions were no surprise to him. As his favorite medical item, Xiandu had a higher appearance rate after being modified and refined by him. For minor injuries, Han Yu will eat this, and even take it out as a snack when he is bored. Anyway, he can't get everything from the grocery store. Soon, Ebony Throat woke up. He looked around sleepily, a little confused. Suddenly, he felt several eyes watching him. When he looked up, the confused expression on his face turned into panic. "No, don't eat me, don't eat me!" Ebony Throat, a generation of magic master, actually crawled backwards, which was refreshing for Han Yu to see. Han Yu couldn't help but said, "Yes, it seems that these grievances have put pressure on him a lot. I'm still worried that they are not strong enough, and I am considering whether to help them increase their strength." What he said was cruel, but none of the people present felt that there was anything wrong. No matter whether they came early or late, they already had an understanding of Han Yu's character. As long as they didn't do anything harmful and became his friend, it was equivalent to owning the wealth of the whole world. If he becomes an enemy and does something heinous, Han Yu will really not leave any humane actions for the other party. At that time, Han Yu will be more cruel than the other party. If the bad guys fall into the hands of Han Yu, it would be better to fall into the 18th level of hell. Chapter 224 It and number 039, S hard to seek death. Maybe the end can be seen in the 18th hell, but in Han Yu's hands, life or death depends on Han Yu's mood. Han Yu is still a human being with sympathy, but sympathy is not for squandering. A heinous villain says he wants to repent, but I'm sorry, it's God's business to forgive you, and what Han Yu has to do is send he goes to see God. It's just that this process will be very, very long. Violence can never solve problems, but it can solve people with brain pits. Han Yu saw in Ebony Throat's mind the people he had killed and the cruel things he would do to the earth in the future, which made Han Yu feel no pity for him. Anyway, what tortured him was also the vengeful spirits that had haunted him for a long time, and Han Yu just gave them a chance to take revenge. Okay, everyone, take a break, let's brew it, and torture it later, let us torture it first. Han Yu stepped out and talked as he walked. As soon as his voice fell, the temperature in this room suddenly dropped, and the weather outside the window seemed to become a lot cloudier. He knew that this was the wraith from Ebony Ma's body. Be quiet. Han Yu frowned slightly, and a powerful pupil power spread out from his eyes, suppressing all the resentful spirits who tried to make trouble, and the kaleidoscope Sharingan was activated. With just a stare, those resentful spirits immediately froze. The chakra released from Han Yu's body, even though it is not the energy of the same world as these wraiths, allows them to be easily suppressed. The kaleidoscope Sharingan is so powerful that even a cage-level ninja would not dare to be careless. These wraiths add up to a lot of energy, and it is not a big deal to pick them up individually. Relying on his strong mental power, Han Yu perfectly used the chakra in the kaleidoscope Sharingan. Suppressing some resentful spirits was easy, and he didn't even need to create illusions to suppress them. As long as Han Yu is willing, he can even use the kaleidoscope to resurrect them, that is, to build a huge fantasy world and let them live in it. This is feasible for Han Yu. I'm relieved to see you in such a miserable state. Han Yu retracted the kaleidoscope Sharingan and smiled towards Ebony Throat. Ebony Throat didn't seem to be a vengeful spirit when he looked at the other party, and his pupils, which had shrunk due to jealousy and fear, slowly widened. He looked around again, and after confirming that he had returned to reality, his behavior was somewhat unexpected. He raised his palm, an array of black energy covered his palm, but it was not used to attack anyone on Han Yu's side, but stabbed towards his neck. He has been waiting for this moment for a long time, not to resist, but to seek death. To the outside world, this is only an hour's world, but to the tortured Ebony Ma in the illusion, it seems like centuries have passed. He wanted to give up struggling several times, allowing the wraith to corrode his body and let him die, but every time he was about to die, an energy that did not belong to him would erupt from his body, slowly healing him body of. He didn't recover much, just hung his breath, which also made him suffer for a longer time. Ebony Ma had planned long ago, as soon as he had a chance to recover, he would immediately end his life. He knew that he had no chance of escaping at all, so he might as well give himself a good time. It's a pity that his behavior was also stopped, and his palm was grabbed by Kuei Yin. The man with red eyes and a spinning jade in his eyes stooped to look at him, with a piercing smile on his face. Try my illusion. Kuei Yin was the first person to experiment with writing sharing eyes by himself. Although it's just a round of writing, he has been able to build a relatively complete illusion space. It seems that as long as he is serious, he can still do it well. It's just that in comparison, he is not strong in the grocery store, because the people there are all monsters. If Kuei Yin went out by himself, he would be one of the top powerhouses on Earth. The rest of the time will be handed over to Kuei Yin and the others. Originally, Wanda and Ganada thought it was not good to torture others like this. When they saw the inhuman actions in Ebony Ma's mind against the residents of other planets, they made them this hurdle was crossed in an instant. A cell phone ringing made Han Yu walk out of the room. It was from Captain America. Han, have you solved the aliens that descended on the streets of New York? Yeah, what's wrong? Han Yu said. Their spaceship is still parked in the air, causing too much panic to the citizens. Should we hand it over to SHIELD or should we go? Captain America asked. Han Yu suddenly realized, by the way, there is still this problem, why did he forget it? After finishing the Ebony Throat and the Black Dwarf, he went straight back to the grocery store. Woolen cloth. Then you all come, take this spaceship back to our Green Lantern base, just disassemble it, see if there is anything we can use, and modify it. Han Yu said very bluntly, as if this thing already belonged to them. Speaking of this giant spaceship, he really never thought of handing it over to ordinary forces like the Earth. No matter which country it is not a good thing to get this level of alien technology. If some parts are leaked out and put on the black market for auction, it will be another bloodbath for ordinary people. Rather than handing it over to other countries, Han Yu's Green Lantern Corps might as well hold it. Anyway, he is confident that he will not do anything harmful to the Earth. Even if you want to do it, you don't need to rely on these technologies. Now Han Yu wants to crush the Earth easily. If he wants to use a powerful technological cannon or something, he will find it troublesome. Why use a technological cannon for something that can be solved with one punch? Of course, if one punch can't solve it, then there is another way, that is, a second punch. After receiving specific instructions from Han Yu, Captain America agreed and hung up the phone. Soon, two bright green lights flew from a distance and submerged into the giant spaceship. Not long after that, the giant spaceship took off and flew away in an invisible state. Han Yu was not very surprised. He knew the structure of this spaceship, and the control of takeoff and landing could be solved with two handles. The green light ring contains a lot of high-tech knowledge. Even if the universe is different, the mechanical principles used are the same. Both Captain America and the Winter Soldier are not idiots. Call up similar information and study it, and then they will be able to roughly control it. At least ascending and descending is not a problem. Seeing that the other party had settled the matter, Han Yu nodded in satisfaction. Since this is the case, there is no need for him to solve it. The next thing, the management of the street, is handed over to the SHIELD. It's okay to leave this kind of trivial matter to SHIELD. Chapter 225 Strange. That night. From time to time, laughter could be heard in the grocery store, which belonged to Ultron and the others. Even though it was late at night, the few of them were still willing to study the ability of Sharingan, and the more they studied, the more vigorous they became. Poor Ebony Throat didn't even let out a scream. Han Yu looked at this scene and fell into deep thought. He was thinking, Ebony Throat and Black Dwarf have already arrived, so what about the other two Heiyeo 4 generals? He knew that there were 4 people under Thanos' command who were above 10,000 people, and they belonged directly to Thanos, and they were called the 4 generals of Heiyeo. Apart from the Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf that had already appeared in front of Han Yu, there was also Proxima Centauri and General Deathblade. Well, although those two guys are not as powerful as Ebony Throat, they should not be underestimated. Han Yu pondered, Ebony Maw is at least a man comparable to the Supreme Mage, and Black Dwarf also has the muscle strength to fight against the Hulk armor without losing the wind. On the other hand, General Deathblade and Proxima Dark Knight, the heroes given to Han Yu by these two are super soldiers. It's really too weak, it's hard to say. The current US team doesn't use the green light ring, and only uses his shield. They can easily hang and beat the 2 Proxima Centauri. The enchanted vibrating gold shield has both defensive power and the ability to rebound attacks, as well as the loyalty that can be recalled no matter how far away it is. Based on this alone, the US team is enough to compete with Proxima or General Deathblade. It's just that I don't know if Thanos has given them the energy of the heart of the universe. Thinking of this, Han Yu couldn't help frowning. The Sea God's attack earlier had the cosmic heart energy given by Thanos. Why don't the 2 Ebony Throats now have it? Is it because Thanos thinks they are strong enough, so he doesn't give them the energy of the heart of the universe? No, it's not right. What's wrong? Han Yu frowned tightly. He felt that it was impossible for Thanos to let it go. Although the two had not met formally, after passing through the Sea God and the energy of the heart of the universe that flew in the universe last time, the two of them were considered to be indirect. Hand over. And it was also Han Yu who won, because Han Yu defuses the Sea God's attack and absorbs the energy of the heart of the universe released by Thanos. The latter cannot be so resigned. While thinking, Han Yu's eyes moved, aimlessly moving around the room, and stopped on Ebony Throat. His pupils shrank slightly suddenly. At this time, Ebony Throat's face was dull, and the skin on his body showed a very light blue color, which was very close to his own skin color. This blue color appeared for a while, and then disappeared very quickly. The process didn't even last a few tenths of a second. Even Ultron, who was the most vigilant, was immersed in the fun of using Sharingan at this time, and didn't notice this at all. Because their attention was all in the illusion they created for Ebony Throat, and Han Yu was by their side, they all lowered their vigilance to the lowest level and completely believed in Han Yu. And Han Yu, who was looking around aimlessly from the outside world, noticed this situation. What is that? It's not an ordinary light. Could it be? Han Yu stared suddenly, raised his feet, stepped out, and shouted at the same time, "Get out of the way!" The stern voice rang out in the ears of the four people like thunder on the ground, directly causing them to exit the illusion passively. Although they didn't know why, but out of trust in Han Yu, they immediately stepped back after exiting the illusion and go. Han Yu stretched his palm towards Ebony Throat, and a huge green light energy that had never been seen before burst out from his palm at this moment, and that posture turned the whole room into green. "What happened to you?" I don't know whose voice sounded at this moment, and with his voice, a dazzling blue light also lit up between them. Seeing this light, Han Yu showed a serious look, and said in a low voice, "The bastard Thanos actually treats them as human bombs." Fortunately, Han Yu discovered it early. The second after the light shined, Han Yu's huge green light energy was controlled, and the energy of the heart of the universe hidden deep in Ebony Throat's body exploded unscrupulously at this moment. Come! Han Yu has never felt that he has used such a huge amount of green light energy like today. This time, he has used the most in a long time. When the energy of the heart of the universe buried in Ebony Throat burst out, under Han Yu's advanced control, the energy was not let out, but the power of the explosion at the beginning still produced a huge impact, making the surrounding several people hit the wall. Only Han Yu stood motionless. At this moment, an energy ball the size of a basketball appeared in front of him, hovering in his hand. Looking at this energy ball, Han Yu thought of something again. Since Ebony Ma has the energy of the heart of the universe, then the Black Dwarf. In the next second, Han Yu's figure disappeared in the eyes of Ao Chuang and the others. Even Kuei Yan, who was most confident in his speed, couldn't help showing surprise. He couldn't catch Han Yu's speed at all. "This guy's speed is completely above mine." Kuei Yan said in a daze. "Where is he going?" He didn't finish his sentence. Ultron, who knows Han Yu best, immediately analyzed what happened just now and what Han Yu said afterwards, which was only half a sentence. Ultron said with a serious face, "From the explosion just now, if the explosion just now is allowed to effect, there may be very few of the four of us who can survive." Wanda nodded. Although she didn't know what happened, she felt that the football-sized energy ball that Han Yu was holding just now was from the same vein as her piggy Peppa. In other words, it is the energy from the heart of the universe. If it really exploded just now when they were defenseless, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ultron took a deep breath, and continued, "If there is that kind of energy in the Ebony Maw, then it means that another alien who came with him may also have it in his body." Oops, go to SHIELD, the alien's corpse is handed over to S.H.I.E.L.D. Wanda said. Except for Janata, the three of them took out the green light ring and put it on their fingers in an extremely tacit understanding, and used the speed of light of the green light ring to rush to the location of SHIELD. Before leaving, Wanda did not forget to take Ganado with her. Within a few breaths of speed, the three arrived at the location of SHIELD. From a long distance away, they saw a blue beam of light soaring into the sky, spreading around, turning everything it passed into nothingness. Just when the blue beam of light spread less than 10 meters in radius, it stopped abruptly. A young man stood beside the beam of light and stopped it with his hand. Chapter 226 Calm Anger. The person who appeared suddenly and had the ability to solve it was naturally Han Yu. He also held the energy ball in his left hand, and raised his right hand to face the beam of light. Soon, he gathered the beam of light and turned it into an energy ball as big as his right hand. "Boss, are you okay?" The figures of Ao Chuang and others flashed over, and they were stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. The separate island where the shield was originally located has become empty at this time, not even a single plant or tree is left. There is only a deep pit in the shape of a cylinder, which is bottomless and extremely terrifying. Ao Chuang and the others looked at Han Yu beside him cautiously. At this time, even Ganada didn't dare to take a big breath, and they all looked at him cautiously. Looking at the bottomless pit, Han Yu's eyes were unusually calm, neither angry nor smiling, not even a slight expression. They had never seen Han Yu angry, nor had he seen his expressionless face like now. Facing such a big hole, Han Yu was so calm that he was horrified. Ao Chuang and the others felt that if Han Yu went crazy and yelled something, it would be normal. The current calm made them feel a little palpitation. If I hand over these two corpses to Shield, or our Green Lantern Corps, it's impossible for them to discover the existence of the energy that got the heart of the universe, and we won't even notice until it affects us. Han Yu spoke in a very soft voice. It was obviously a very flat voice, but it made Ultron and the others feel a little out of breath, as if there was a huge rolling mountain pressing on their hearts, and they couldn't breathe at all. This level of energy is enough to destroy our solar system. Han Yu once again dropped a blockbuster that could destroy the energy of the solar system. Because Han Yu used an extremely large amount of green light energy to perfectly isolate the energy of the heart of the universe, Ultron and the others could not feel how powerful the energy contained in it was. After hearing what Han Yu said, they became a little belatedly afraid. Will Han Yu lie about this to scare them? No, of course not, there is no need for this. In other words, what Han Yu said was true, the energy enough to destroy the solar system was really released, and only Ganada and Han Yu were able to live. Even Ultron, who is currently the most capable among Wanda, Ultron, and Kuei-Ian, has to die tragically under this energy. There is no possibility of survival. Han Yu raised his eyes to look at the sky. A frightening coldness flickered in his dark eyes, and the gazes of him and Thanos seemed to collide across the distant sky. This is Thanos officially declaring war on the Earth, or Han Yu. Call. Han Yu let out a long breath, and said softly, "It seems that the battle is very close. During this period of time, you have dispersed. If there is anything unusual, solve it immediately and then report to me." His words were addressed to the three people in the original grocery store. Although Ganada was not included, even she nodded in agreement. Wanda called Gu Yi to explain what happened here, and she didn't go back to the Supreme Sanctuary. From the beginning, she regarded the Supreme Sanctuary as a place to strengthen her strength, not to become a Supreme Mage. She wants to leave the Supreme Sanctuary at any time. Gu Yi will not say anything at all. If she has to say something, it should be to persuade her to stay. After all, it would be the best choice for Wanda to be the Supreme Mage. She also showed her talent in magic. She was familiar with a high-level magic book in 10 days and half a month. This has nothing to do with her chaos magic, it is entirely Wanda's own talent. On the phone, Gu Yi's voice came, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Wanda looked at Han Yu and said, "Yes, you lead the mages in each sanctuary to set up a protective formation first, in case the other party uses a concentrated nuclear strike in outer space." What she said satisfied Han Yu, which was what the latter wanted to say. Now Wanda is a girl who doesn't know anything. During the time in the Supreme Sanctuary, she also learned a lot. Gu Yi's promised voice came from there, and he hung up the phone. After a period of time, groups of unidentified people wearing hoods and jackets appeared all over the world. Some people thought they were suspicious, but after checking them, they all returned in a huff. Level commands. From time to time, some people saw a sudden flash of light on the hands of this group of people, which quickly disappeared, making them think that they were wrong. Inform Steve about the matter here and let them handle it. Looking at the big hole, Han Yu's expression was unprecedentedly serious. This time he lost the entire Shield bureau. Although a lot of information can still be retrieved on the internet, those people are all dead, even most of them are dead. Nobody knew what was going on. A wave of anger burned in Han Yu's heart, but his expression became more and more calm, so calm that he himself felt a little scary. This is the effect of the undead seal in his body. The powerful mental power can not only be used to attack, but also to achieve absolute calm in terms of self-control. Even if he is very angry now, Han Yu can suppress the anger in his heart and let it continue to burn without spreading. This situation allowed Han Yu to have many ways to retaliate against the other party, but also to calm down. People who are angry are not scary, but people who are extremely angry and can control themselves are scary. Ao Chuangma contacted the US team, and the latter, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier also learned about the incident through the newly dispersed news network, and rushed over without stopping. When seeing the huge pothole, Captain America was stunned first, then angry, with a serious expression. Ao Chuang and the US team all went to deal with this matter, leaving Han Yu standing alone in midair. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Stark's number. Now he is about to enter the combat readiness state, and he doesn't know how the progress of the battlesuit is going. Well, no answer. Han Yu was a little strange. He made 2 calls in a row, but no one answered them. He didn't answer until the 3rd call, but it wasn't Stark's voice that came, but Jarvis. Hearing this voice, Hanyu was still a little strange, and asked, "Jarvis, why is it you, where is Stark?" "Mr. Han, Mr. Stark has been working in the studio for many days. In order to isolate external interference, he cut off all online methods to contact him as early as half a month ago," Jarvis said. "Is he actually working so hard?" Hanyu murmured, "For more than half a month, that means Stark hasn't contacted the outside world for half a month. How serious is this to study the suit?" Chapter 227 High Intensity Work. "I see, I'll go find him myself." After finishing speaking, Hanyu hung up the phone and rushed to Stark's residence. I didn't set a specific time for Stark to make the suit, but the latter was so concerned. Apart from his own proposal, he thought it was very interesting, and one of the reasons was probably one of the reasons. After all, Stark is really researching the technology of another world now. This kind of thing and energy can be stored in a small device and called at any time. Even for Stark, this method can create a new world. New era. Now the progress of Stark's research armor is at most reaching remote control and then arming. Compared with the original arming of parts one by one, this is already the fastest method. But even so, Stark is still not satisfied. In this dangerous world, who can guarantee how much save time to arm him with armor? Originally agreed to be the equipment consultant of the Green Lantern Corps, Stark still had a trace of arrogance as a genius. He believed that even in Hanyu's Green Lantern Corps, he would be able to provide very good equipment. But now he saw something similar to exoskeleton armor, which was no weaker than Stark's armor in terms of attack and defense, and it only took 5 seconds to attach to the body. If this kind of thing can be applied to the anti-Hulk armor, Stark can make many surprise attacks, which will be an epoch-making technological innovation. Stark's house. At this time, he has been in the studio for a long time, eating and drinking here. In order to work together, he even moved the bed down. Except for going to the bathroom and going upstairs, he is basically here for the rest of the time spent it. "Tony, you really should go out and bask in the sun, you smell a musty smell on yourself." In the studio, a blonde woman with a good figure looked at Stark, who was still fiddling with a bunch of tools, and couldn't help saying, "During this period of time, your sleep time has dropped to half of the usual, and if you continue like this, your body will collapse." The woman who spoke was Little Pepper, who had been with Stark all the time, and she was also the woman who would marry Stark later. It is said that behind every successful man there is a woman who supports him. Pepper is such a woman. She has a sincere relationship with Stark, which also makes the relationship between the two closer. Hearing this, Stark turned his head, his eyes were bloodshot, looking a little scary. He walked to the computer desk, picked up the coffee on the table, and took a big gulp. The strong coffee flavor spread in his mouth. In order to refresh himself, he did not pursue the taste but the concentration. The bitter taste overflowing in his mouth made Stark's drowsy brain a little clearer. He yawned and said, "Pepper, do you know what this is? Do you know what I'm researching? This is a super technology that can store items in it, and now I will crack it soon, and when I crack it, the military of the Earth will be the biggest change in history." Hanyu once said that as long as he wants, he can put everything into the card. At that time, let alone the Hulk armor, it is possible to put a few combat aircraft carriers in it. Imagine that a person enters the opponent's country normally and suddenly produces several combat aircraft carriers. No matter how powerful the opponent's technology is, they will not be able to withstand such a surprise attack. I just know that your body won't be able to take it anymore if you continue like this. Little Pepper rolled her eyes angrily. During this period of time, Stark didn't eat much of the meals she brought over, and basically lived on coffee. "I can do it. I'll find out if I study it a little more." Stark muttered, just didn't know what he meant by could, his body or something else. Seeing his obsession, Pepper knew that no matter how much she said, she was just a cloud. She rarely saw Stark being so obsessed with something. Even when studying his steel armor, Stark did not reach such a state of bewilderment, which is enough to see how much this matter has affected him. "Hey, I really don't know which guy gave it to you and made you so tired. Forget it, I'll make you something nutritious to eat, otherwise your body won't be able to bear it." Little Pepper complained, knowing that it would be useless to say more, turned around and wanted to get something delicious for Stark, but when he turned around, he bumped into someone's arms. Sorry. Pepper subconsciously apologized, then thought about it, no, isn't this Stark's private studio? Just now there were only her and Stark was behind her, so who is this person in front? Appearing in the room out of thin air without making any sound, this chilling feeling spread all over Zijiao's body. Her eyes slowly raised her head in amazement, as if she would see something terrifying when she looked up. But when he saw the person standing in front of him, Pepper's sense of fear dropped significantly. "Sorry miss, I appeared too abruptly, are you okay?" Han Yu smiled kindly. After seeing his handsome appearance, Xiao Qiao was not so afraid. She was stunned and said, "Are you Han Yu?" Han Yu was a little surprised. "You know me?" Pepper nodded. Although she just complained about who gave Stark the Kamen Rider drive, she actually knew that Stark didn't hide it from her. If she wanted to know more, she'd ask Stark, who would tell. Stark has been telling her that recently he met a young man who is so powerful that he can change the universe. At first, Pepper thought he was joking, but now it seems that Stark's research and Han Yu's appearance may be true. Han Yu turned his head to look behind little Pepper, where Stark also looked up at this time, and the two looked at each other. Stark looked happy, while Han Yu's expression sank. "Han, why are you here? Let me tell you, the research has made great progress. And the time to make the suit will be shorter than I expected," Stark said excitedly. He suddenly noticed that the expression on Han Yu's face was not very good, so he asked, "What's wrong with you?" Han Yu said, "How long have you been working continuously?" Hearing the other party's question, Stark stuttered suddenly, hesitated for a while, and said, "It's not long, maybe a few days." He said this without looking in the mirror. Now Stark's hair is as messy as a chicken coop, and he has an unshaven beard. Most importantly, his eyes are full of bloodshot eyes. It can be seen that he has worked hard for a long time. Chapter 228 Reinforcements. Except for his genius IQ that day, Stark is no different from ordinary people. This kind of high-intensity work will really cause sudden death. "Hey, no matter, after all, you are also for our legion. I won't say anything this time, but I don't want to have a next time. You will definitely see more weird equipment in the future. If you study like this every time, then you won't live long at all." Han Yu said it very directly, and Stark didn't refute it, which is indeed the case. Stark quickly changed the topic, "What are you doing here this time? Danger is coming, you haven't read the latest news, have you?" Han Yu looked around the studio, then came to Stark's workbench, clicked a few times on his computer, and released a piece of news. In the news, it was about the instant evaporation of the SHIELD building and the huge pit. It was impossible to hide such a big thing, so now you can see news reports about this matter on TV and TV. Here, what's going on here? Seeing the bottomless crater on the news, Stark felt a little creepy. This crater was so big that it evaporated the entire island where SHIELD was located. The surrounding rivers flowed into this big hole and dried up, exposing all kinds of garbage that had been deposited on the bottom of the river for a long time. Han Yu sighed softly, and explained to him what happened just now. In fact, this happened about an hour ago. Little Pepper usually doesn't pay attention to these things, and she hasn't seen the news. Has the other party officially declared war? Hearing that the other party actually asked two confidant generals to come, and if they failed, they would directly detonate the energy hidden in their bodies. This kind of decisive method of killing is really speechless. But what should I do? The opponent invaded so fast, but the research on the battlesuit has just started, and it can't reach the level of mass production at all. Stark began to worry. Originally, the time of a few months was considered very short. Now that the first wave of enemy attacks has arrived, the second wave and the third wave after that may not be too long apart. Maybe the opponent's large army is already on the way, and spending time on researching the battle uniform at such a time is simply useless. Don't worry, I still have candidates. You, wash up first, get a good night's sleep, and then I'll take you to a place to find reinforcements," Han Yu said. "I can go now." As soon as Stark took a step, he felt his legs suddenly go limp. If Han Yu hadn't supported him with quick eyes and hands, he would have fallen to the ground. At this time, Stark began to pant quickly, and the consequences of working so hard for so many days appeared. "Tony!" Little Pepper yelled worriedly. And quickly stepped up to his side to check him. I'm fine, just a little, my heart rate is too fast." Stark waved his hand to indicate that he was fine. With Han Yu's support, he walked to the side bed that had been prepared but had not slept in a few times, and sat there. "You go to rest first, we'll go when we wake up," Han Yu said. Stark nodded silently. He knew that Han Yu would not even be able to take him there if he said something blunt. Now all he can do is rest. After that, he lay down, and soon let out a burst of snoring. It was obvious that his body was already exhausted. This time, Stark slept for a full 13 hours. When he woke up, he heard Han Yu chatting with Jarvis. "You're awake, how do you feel?" Seeing him waking up, Han Yu came up and chuckled. "Comfortable, I'm hungry, I'll go eat something, and then I'll go out with you after taking a shower." After Han Yu stopped Stark's high-intensity work, sleepiness and hunger came one after another. After getting enough sleep, his stomach naturally started to feel hungry. After Stark cleaned up, the two went to a hamburger restaurant to have a big meal. With Stark as the boss, Han Yu also became more expensive. Because Stark didn't do anything to cover up, his appearance quickly attracted crowds of people inside and outside the burger shop. Many people wanted to come up to ask for an autograph and a group photo, but they were frightened by the way Han Yu ate. On the table for one person, there were a dozen or so hamburgers, 5 or 6 servings of French fries, a pizza that could feed 4 people, and 3 or 4 glasses of Coke. If they hadn't been sure that the person sitting here was Tony Stark, they would have thought it was a homeless man who had been starving for months. This must have eaten too much. Han Yu has a big appetite. He has become a god and can maintain his life without relying on these substances to supplement energy, but he still maintains the habit of 3 meals a day and supper. After all, eating is one of the few pleasures for Han Yu. In the final record, Han Yu ate 8 hamburgers, 4 French fries, 2 quarters of pizza, and 2 Cokes by himself, and asked Stark when he was full, "Are you full?" "I'm full, I can go." Stark sucked his finger naturally regardless of face, and said contentedly. Whoever said that rich people have to guard the delicacies of mountains and seas every day, and fast food burgers are also Stark's favorite, and he often patronizes this burger restaurant. Hearing this, Han Yu nodded, and directly took out the green light ring. After putting it on, a ball of green light wrapped Han Yu in front of everyone, and then rushed out from the door. Seeing the green light cluster soaring into the sky and quickly disappearing from their field of vision, it took a long time before someone in the crowd burst out a sentence. "Handsome! Where are we going to call someone?" During the flight, Stark asked Han Yu. Just now, because he had been eating all the time, he didn't have a chance to open his mouth to ask where he was going, so he took advantage of the small gap and asked. "Wakanda." Han Yu smiled lightly. "Wakanda? Where and what are you going to do?" "I think it's just a 4th country, right?" In Stark's memory, he had occasionally learned about the country of Wakanda. He only knew that it was a very backward African country, basically still in an agricultural country. With a lot of modern equipment. Been touched. Such a place can actually have the reinforcements Han Yu wanted to find, which made Stark unbelievable. That's just their appearance to the outside world. In fact, they are the largest country in science and technology on Earth. Yes, they are the largest country. It is no exaggeration. Han Yu laughed. Hearing this, Stark was dumbfounded. If someone else said this, Stark couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't laugh, but Han Yu said it, which made Stark doubt life. Whether it is Han Yu's hometown of Kyushu, or the United States, they are all famous countries in the world, and it has never been heard that any country has a tendency to surpass them. Chapter 229 Wakanda. So when Han Yu said this, Stark doubted life. He suddenly began to look at whether Han Yu was being controlled by someone, and wanted to find a chance to kill himself, otherwise how could he say such a thing? His strange gaze made Han Yu roll his eyes helplessly, and said, "Do you know the material of Steve's shield?" "I know, it's a very rare metal, vibranium. If I can have a little of that, not to mention how much, give me half a ton, I can make my steel armor look brand new." Speaking of this, Stark feels a little pity. He has been coveting the US team's shield for a day or two, but it's a pity that it's just that little, and the latter is very easy to use. Now he is unlikely to make such a horizontal attack. It's a matter of killing love with a knife, and that amount doesn't meet Stark's needs. Then if I tell you, there is still a whole mountain of these metals that have not been mined. Han Yu still said with a smile. A mountain. After hearing this word, Stark felt goosebumps on his skin. A mountain of vibration gold would be a terrifying amount. He could even replace the entire Iron Legion with vibration gold. At that time, Stark, it can really be said to be invincible. On the Earth, unless it is an attack of super damage such as intercontinental missiles, the rest of the Starks have the confidence to resist. Could it be that Han Yu was bluffing himself? That's unlikely. At this juncture, there's no need. Stark suddenly rang his words. The reinforcements he was looking for this time were Wakanda, and he mentioned a mountain of Genjin. That is to say, there is a mountain of vibrating gold in Wakanda? Stark looked at Han Yu blankly, although he didn't speak, but the latter nodded to him. The meaning is self-evident. Then it makes sense, why Wakanda wants to hide. If this kind of thing is said, it will definitely be detrimental to Wakanda, even if they have the highest technology, but wealth is in danger. Wakanda's the king really sees far. Stark hit the nail on the head, and there was some admiration in his words. With the vibrating gold of that mountain, Wakanda can become the king of the world when it is announced, but doing so may not be a good thing for Wakanda. There must be people who are greedy for these metals, even if they are dangerous, they will do it. In this way, Wakanda will be invaded every 2 days. Even if it is just flies, it will be uncomfortable if there are more. It is indeed a good idea that Wakanda directly adopts the method of closing the door and not making it public. It will arrive soon, and you will know when it arrives. Saying that, Han Yu, who was controlling the flight trajectory, suddenly flew towards a dense forest. Stark thought he was going to land. But looking at the speed, it didn't look like he was going to land at all. Hey, what are you doing? That's a tree, it's a tree. Hearing Stark's yell, the corners of Han Yu's mouth rose slightly, and he rushed there at an accelerated speed. Even with energy isolation, this operation made Stark close his eyes subconsciously in fright, but the imaginable shock did not come. His eyelids trembled, and he opened slowly. The scene that greeted him shocked him. The high-rise buildings in front of me have never been seen before. These high-rise buildings perfectly integrate modern technology and the style of primitive tribes. You can see mud and tiled houses unique to primitive tribes everywhere, but they are carried on high-rise buildings made of concrete. What is that? The suspension train. It has reached the level where it can be used casually. Stark's eyes were sharp, and his eyes quickly locked on a train that was constantly shuttling through the city. That train did not have slide rails like ordinary high-speed trains, but was suspended in the air, and the speed was extremely fast. It didn't look like an experiment. Taste. In the city, some spaceships the size of cars can still be seen, driving through the city in an orderly manner like cars. People on the ground are laughing and talking to each other, and they seem to be used to everything that happens in the sky. Well, I didn't lie to you, did I? Han Yu smiled. Stark, who was a little unbelievable just now, is completely convinced now. He never thought that there is such a high-tech country hidden in the world. Suddenly, he remembered something and looked back. There was no forest behind him. Looking from here to the place where they came in just now, it was a plain. It turns out that those forests are just a cover-up, such an advanced camouflage. Stark sighed in admiration. This level of camouflage technology, even Stark didn't make much achievements, and Wakanda can use it to camouflage its Wakanda on a large scale. It can be seen that Wakanda's technology is at least 100 years ahead of the outside world. By the way, you said that you need to find rescuers, so how can we find the leader of this country? Stark asked, and as soon as he finished speaking, he saw the corner of Han Yu's mouth curl up slightly, and he suddenly had a bad feeling, as if he knew what he was going to do. Immediately afterwards, Han Yu found an open space and landed. After the energy of the green light dissipated, he stood there with his hands in his pockets. Stark glanced at him suspiciously, and then turned his eyes to the distance, where 7 or 8 flat spaceships were speeding towards them. Seeing this scene, Stark shook his head helplessly. This method is too brutal, but surprisingly effective. If you go to meet the leader of Wakanda according to the normal situation, the other party will ignore you. After all, the other party has not disclosed Wakanda's technology, and naturally has no interest in cooperation with the outside world. That is to say, Stark's identity as an arms predator has no effect on this negotiation. It is better to follow Han Yu and break through directly, so that the possibility of meeting the leader of the other party is more likely. While thinking about it, those Wakanda spaceships had arrived, and 7 or 8 black people jumped off from one spaceship, holding a spear in their hands and pointing at Han and Yu. Muttering a bunch of words they didn't understand. It's an African language. What are these people talking about? Besides, their weapons are too outdated. They are obviously a high-tech country, so why do they still use spears? Stark whispered next to Han Yu, knowing that the other party is a high-tech country, but now he came up with a spear, which brought an extremely weird feeling to Stark. If he hadn't seen the other party's levitation with his own eyes, trains and hovering spaceships, he thought this was some kind of prank show. That's an energy launcher, just like a gun, but they like this style, so they made these energy launchers into spears. Don't look at it like this, most of the materials inside are made of vibrating gold. Han Yu's lips twitched for a while, and the voice that only Stark could hear came to his ears. Hearing this, Stark nodded suddenly, and the strong contrast in his heart dissipated a lot because of these words. Chapter 230. The suspected leader of the group stood up and walked up to Han Yu. When he saw a white man and a yellow man who came, he babbled, but said he was lonely. This language was a bit awkward for Han Yu and the others. Whether it was the pronunciation of words or a whole sentence, they could not understand a few words. This should be an older African language, and it is not surprising to think that this place has been isolated for many years. After he finished speaking, he stared at the two of Han Yu with staring eyes, but what he got in exchange was Han Yu frowning slightly, and said coldly, "Speak English." Hearing this, the black man's words obviously stagnated. Just when Stark wanted to say not to embarrass others, he spoke fluent West Coast English, which shocked Stark for 100 years. "Who are you, how did you get in, and where are your accomplices? Be honest and don't try to play tricks. It turns out that you can speak English, so you babbled at the beginning, are you giving us a listening test?" Stark looked at the team leader with a strange expression. "Do you think that everyone understands the African languages in remote areas like yours? Isn't it good to speak English at the beginning? They don't seem to understand African languages. There is something to discuss and I need to see your king, please let me know." Han Yu said in a neither humble nor overbearing tone. "You two unknown people, how could I just take you to the king like this? Come here, catch them first, interrogate them carefully, and see where the other accomplices are." The leader shouted, but he heard no movement behind him. He turned around and was about to reprimand, but found that everyone kept stepping forward, as if some invisible thing had frozen their hands, feet and torsos in mid-air. It's okay if there are only 1 or 2 people, but there are more than 20 Wakanda fighters present in this posture, and the atmosphere is a bit weird. Thin beads of sweat slid from their foreheads on everyone's faces, and the corners of their mouths twitched slightly to express the fear in their hearts, but they couldn't even make expressions or speak. "You, what did you do?" The team leader looked at Han Yu in front of him in horror, and couldn't help clenching the spear in his hand. He didn't know what happened. His teammates were fixed in place in this way, which had never happened before. At first glance, it was because of what these two foreigners did. This weird way made him feel scared. But he had to hold the spear tightly and stand in front of the opponent. This is his duty. If something runs away as soon as he is afraid, then he will not be able to sit in his current position at all. "Relax, soldier, we have no malicious intentions. The reason why we came in so recklessly is just to save those trivial and cumbersome details. Please inform us and tell the king completely. I believe he will see us." Han Yu's voice was soft, and there was not much pressure in his words, which also made the highly nervous team leader relax a bit. His face froze, he nodded slowly, took back the spear in his hand, and tapped on the ground. A dull sound came from the spear tail touching the ground, but the surrounding Wakanda fighters could move again. Everyone retracted their fighting posture and stood at attention. "Then come with me, I'll report," the team leader said. Han Yu smiled and said, "Thank you." On the spaceship, Han Yu and the two sat at the tail of a certain spaceship, a little distance away from the Wakanda fighters. Stark asked him in a low voice, "It's too smooth, it can't be the other party follow us and trick us." He was terrified just now, but he agreed in the next second. Fortunately, Han Yu was standing beside him. Stark knew how strong he was. If it were someone else, he would definitely think it was a trap. "When I spoke just now, I used a little green light energy to interfere with the other party's brain and make him obey us subconsciously. It's not the other party's deceit. Don't worry," Han Yu said in a voice that only Stark could hear. Stark's complexion changed slightly. He couldn't do Han Yu's ability to precisely control the volume of his voice, so he had to get closer, then lowered his voice, and said, "In this case, why don't we directly control them and go out? It's fighting." What he said was not unreasonable. With Han Yu's ability, this kind of thing can indeed be done, and it is very easy. Han Yu narrowed his eyes, glanced at Stark, and said softly, "It is possible, but after this battle, you must still have contact with Wakanda. After the domestic battle, it will be the internal battle. This is not the result I want to see. They are not fighting, but it does not mean that they will not resist. Hearing this, Stark nodded embarrassingly. It was indeed the same thing. It was a bit arrogant for him to say this. He has seen too much during this period, which made him a bit arrogant. Joining the Green Lantern Corps means that behind him is a great god who can run amok in the universe, and he can do whatever he wants on this small earth. Stark, who was somewhat flustered, was awakened by Han Yu's words. Even the great gods were not so flustered, so how could he hold a chicken feather as an arrow? It's not scary to be strong. What's scary is that after being strong, you start to disregard life. Whether it's your opponent or yourself, this disregard for life will bring devastating harm. Look at so many villains, don't they all have disregard for life? Well, there are not many good endings, right? In terms of age, although Han Yu is 10 years younger than Stark, he has a much deeper understanding of powerful strength than the latter. It is precisely because Han Yu has always maintained the principle of not disregarding life, so he still stands with Stark now. Otherwise, if he disregarded life, how could he stand with Stark, and the price will drop like that. Most of those ancient great gods and ancient great gods have this kind of emotion of disregarding life, and it is precisely because of this that no matter what major events between creatures happen in the universe, they are indifferent. After all, to them, human beings, or living things, really exist like ants. No human being will spend half his life or even his whole life atoning for his own crimes by trampling a nest of ants to death. This kind of statement also makes sense when applied to the gods of the universe and humans on Earth. It is cruel and true. Han Yu's words brought Starla back, who was a bit ecstatic. If this kind of thinking is allowed to spread, it may eventually lead to the birth of a villain. Soon, they went to the center of Wakanda, a building with a primitive tribal feel but full of technology. This is where the king usually sits. Chapter 231 Cooperation. Led by the Wakanda warriors, Han Yu and the others went up to the top floor of the building. The elevator opened, and there was not much magnificent decoration inside. The elevator goes straight, turns left, and you come to a large room with a throne and 2 rows of chairs on the left and right. There is a large floor-to-ceiling window in the room. Standing in front of the window, you can overlook the big sum of the scenery of Wakanda is included in the eyes. The two of Han Yu walked forward and stopped not far in front of the throne. There, sitting there was a middle-aged man who was estimated to be in his 40s or 50s, but his figure looked particularly strong. He was wearing a purple-black tights, which seemed to be made of some special material. Under the wrapping of the clothes, the muscles of the middle-aged man were highlighted. Even though he was middle-aged, his figure was not inferior at all. A man in his prime. Han Yu knew that this was the current king of Wakanda, T'Chaka. His son T'Challa is the next generation of Black Panthers. According to the timeline, at this point in time, T'Chaka should have died because of a certain incident. It's just that because of Han Yu's intervention, those things didn't happen, so T'Chaka is still sitting in this position safely. Outsiders, what are you talking about here? T'Chaka on the throne spoke, speaking English with a special African accent. As expected of a king, he didn't ask nonsense about who are you and how did you get in when he came up, but asked directly. T'Chaka knew that the other party could directly break through the camouflage outside, and did not lurk or launch any attacks after entering, but instead landed in an open place, which could prove that they might not be hostile. If there was really hostility, it would be impossible for the two sides to talk peacefully face to face now, and the fight would have started long ago. Since there is no hostility, there is something to discuss, and if it is resolved properly, there may be more friends. T'Chaka's philosophy of governing the country has always been based on peace. If he had been warlike, he would have led troops to attack the outside world. King T'Chaka, the Earth is about to face a big alien attack. We are short of manpower, so we come to ask you for help. Han Yu said calmly. Hearing this, T'Chaka frowned and asked, alien attack? Are you referring to what happened in Washington yesterday? The Washington incident in his mouth refers to the annihilation of S.H.I.E.L.D., because S.H.I.E.L.D. is located in Washington. It's not unusual for T'Chaka to know this. It would be strange if he didn't know. Although Wakanda is not open to the outside world, it doesn't mean that it doesn't receive news from the outside world. Such a big thing happened in Washington, the whole world knows it, and it is impossible for Wakanda not to know it. That's right. Han Yu nodded and said, this is just an attack that is not even considered an advance attack. There are too many things involved in the outside world. I want to control the battlefield around Wakanda. With Wakanda's technology, can lose less. Why should we promise you that Wakanda is not a loss if it loses less? A man with a big ring on his mouth scolded. Hearing someone refute him, the expression on Han Yu's face did not change much. He glanced at that person indifferently, and the latter suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and cold sweat rolled down his cheeks. Did I talk to you? Han Yu's tone was flat, and what he said made Stark's lips curl up. This is too arrogant, but I like it. Stark felt that if he came by himself, even with his own worth, he would not be able to talk to the other party like this. Wakanda's technological level can be said to be ahead of itself. Stark's nuclear reactor technology is 50 to 70 years ahead of the outside world, and Wakanda is conservatively estimated to be over 100 years old. In such a country, Stark can't be arrogant even if he wants to. Following Han Yu gave Stark the feeling of slapping others in the face for the first time. How can I trust that you are not doing us any harm? Looking at the man who was fixed in place and couldn't move, T'Chaka felt the cold murderous aura emanating from Han Yu's body, which was so strong that he had killed enemies on the battlefield for more than 5 years at least. There are at least hundreds of lives on the road. On the other hand, at Han Yu's age and appearance, his very youthful appearance has such a murderous look, even T'Chaka, who takes the heart-shaped grass that can strengthen the body, has never had it. Some time ago in your country, there was a theft of vibrating gold, right? Han Yu chuckled. T'Chaka narrowed his eyes, and said in a deep voice, yes, how do you know? That matter is our top secret in Wakanda. Han Yu put his hands in his pockets, and said lightly, how about I help you catch him back to show my sincerity? It was said that T'Chaka didn't directly refuse, and he took the previous vibranium theft case very seriously. Every batch of vibrating gold mined is strictly tracked and protected. The place where vibrating gold is stored is really not even a fly can fly into it. Now that it has been stolen, there is only one possibility, that is, there is an inner ghost who betrayed the place where Wakanda transported the vibration gold and let him get the defense map. This is detrimental to the entire Wakanda. If the defense map is leaked, then Wakanda will fall into a passive state. How long do you need? T'Chaka asked. Han Yu raised a finger. 1 year. Han Yu shook his head. A month. Han Yu shook his head again and waved his hands. 1 week. Han Yu still shook his head and said, 1 minute. 1 minute. Except for Stark, all the people who heard it at the scene showed surprise expressions. For a minute, let alone arresting people, even if they took the elevator down here, it would take more than a minute. T'Chaka was happy. He knew that the other party was capable, but he really couldn't believe what he said. He spread his hands, if you can catch that guy within a minute, as you said, I'm willing to help. The corner of Han Yu's mouth twitched, and he used the ability of the green light ring to send a message to Ultron in his mind, and then he hummed a little tune and waited quietly. During this minute, people on the left and right sides of the throne were often heard whispering. It was nothing more than some people who didn't believe in Han Yu and mocked him. People would turn their eyes to him from time to time, not because of ridicule or insult, but because the tunes he hummed were so attractive that they couldn't help but listen to what Han Yu was humming. Stark couldn't help asking him, Han, what are you humming? It sounds very touching. Han Yu smiled and said, ah, this song is called Unthemed. Chapter 232 Shut Up. This song is from Han Yu's previous life, and there is no such song in the Marvel world. I've never heard of it. Where can I hear it? I'll find it when I go back. Stark became interested. He himself likes this kind of pop music very much, and various pop music is often played in his workshop. Han Yu smiled. He didn't think too much when he hummed it just now. How should I say it now? There is no Linkin Park in this world, so naturally there is no such song. I'll find it for you later, let's get down to business first. After being vaguely led by Han Yu, Stark didn't feel that there was anything wrong. He nodded on his own, and then hummed blindly according to the tune that Han Yu hummed just now. He hummed more and more. If Han Yu hadn't heard it accurately, he would have thought that Stark had compiled the song himself. There are 5 seconds left in 1 minute and 60 seconds, and T'Chaka is about to speak to dismiss these two guys who can only talk big for no reason, when he catches a glimpse of the huge French window from the corner of his eye. It seems that there is a green streak in the distance. The light was galloping towards them. In the blink of an eye twice, the green light instantly changed from a distance of thousands of meters to the front of him, and landed directly on the balcony next to him. This sudden light attracted many dark-skinned bald women to run in. These women were all wearing red light armor and holding a spear in their hands. This was the king's special guard. "Don't be nervous, my people are here." Han Yu smiled slightly, and immediately the green light came in, and every time he took a step, the light on his body dissipated a little, until he walked in front of Han Yu and the others, all the green light on his body dissipated. The person who came was Ultron, whom Han Yu contacted a minute ago. At this time, the latter was still holding a man in his hand. Ulysses Crow, who stole 3.15 tons of vibranium from Wakanda a few days ago, is hiding in the giant Salvadoc. Ao Chuang threw claw in his hand on the ground, and stood directly beside Han Yu. To Stark, who was already standing beside him, Ao Chuang just nodded slightly, without any expression on his face. He no longer has any emotions that make him fluctuate towards Stark, and he is not a junior high school student who quarrels with each other. When he gets angry, he ignores each other. Ultron would not do such a naive thing, and now he has everything in the grocery store. Why bother to stiff-neck with Stark because of something from the past? 1 minute, just right. Han Yu took out his phone, tapped the screen on it lightly, and said with a chuckle. This resolute method surprised everyone except T'Chaka. Could it be that this was performed a long time ago, in order to get close? But after thinking about it, it's impossible. If this is the case, it would be too stupid, and you can see it at a glance. Only T'Chaka knew that what Han Yu said was true, and pictures suddenly flashed in his mind, which Han Yu had shown him a long time ago, about Wakanda being attacked by alien forces. Screen. T'Chaka asked someone to go up and check Crow's identity. This guy who didn't react at all was still counting the banknotes just now. He didn't expect that he would return to Wakanda a minute later. He didn't react at all during the whole process. He rolled his eyes, and with his hands behind his back, the miniature sound wave equipment placed on his right arm was quietly activated. He planned to create some confusion and ran out by taking the opportunity. He wouldn't be so obediently caught without a fight, otherwise he wouldn't be able to get to the position of the arms dealer today. The miniature sound wave device had just been activated, and before it had time to attack, Crow felt an indescribable pain in his right arm, just for a moment. Crow turned his hand around in a daze, only to find that his right arm, under the shoulder blade, had been chopped off, and there was not much blood on the cut. Because of the high temperature, the wound had been scorched, so no blood flowed out. Only then did he feel the severe pain coming from there. Having experienced many things, his strong willpower prevented him from screaming, but he also knelt down on the ground, speechless. Crow now feels that if he moves a little, there will be very severe pain, which makes him dare not move at all. Don't mess around with petty tricks. Ao Chuang glanced coldly at Clow, who was kneeling on the ground, and with a flick of his hand, a long object was thrown out by him. When everyone took a closer look, they realized that it was a broken arm, which was exactly Clow's broken arm. On this broken arm, there is a small black device, which is very obvious. Except for Han Yu, T'Chaka and Stark were all shocked. They didn't see clearly what happened just now. No, let alone see clearly, they didn't see it at all. In the field of vision of ordinary people like them, without even blinking their eyes, they suddenly saw that Ultron had a broken arm in his hand, while Crow was missing an arm. When Ultron made his move, they didn't even see it. What a terrifying speed! I have never been so thankful that I am not Han Yu's enemy, otherwise I would not be their opponent no matter how many steel armors I make. Stark swallowed with some fear. He stood closest to Ultron, even so, he didn't notice Ultron's move at all. In his vision, after Ultron said the phrase "don't make small moves," Crow knelt down, and Stark also discovered that Crow had an accident at the same time as others. If this speed is used to assassinate himself, to seize his own business or something, Stark will be impossible to guard against. Glancing coldly at Clow, who was kneeling on the ground, Han Yu's face didn't fluctuate much. He also felt that Clow wanted to make a small move, but he didn't bother to make a move at all. And Ultron could completely detect it. It is no exaggeration for him to be called a god in front of the people of the earth who has the body of a sky demon puppet and has reached the peak of Dozun, because he is indeed a god. Unless nuclear bombs are used for cluster strikes, it is really difficult for an attack under the power of nuclear bombs to cause damage to him. With his Dozun's peak speed, even if he slowed down by 100 times, it would still be impossible for ordinary people to capture the speed with his naked eyes. Do you have any other comments? Han Yu said coldly. Since the crows had been brought here, if the other party had anything to say, it would be ignorant of flattery. I came here in person, so I didn't intend to talk about failure. We're fine, T'Chaka said. The man who had refuted Han Yu earlier also closed his mouth resentfully. He had clearly seen the perception of both parties. If he said it again, he would be courting death. Especially the coldness on Han Yu's face, it seemed that any more words would cause him to attack, which caused other people who wanted to speak to open their mouths and then close them again. Chapter 233, The Great War Begins. But how do we control them from landing in Wakanda? Stark asked. That's the opponent. Although Han Yu said that he wanted to control the battlefield in Wakanda, how could the enemy land in Wakanda as he wished? It's not a guest. We have what they want, and they attack us just to get these things, Han Yu said. What is it? Infinity Gems. You have also come into contact with them. When Loki invaded New York before, he opened the Worm Gate using the space gems and the infinite gems. You also have a yellow mind gem in your hand. Han Yu said. Hearing this, Stark nodded suddenly. If Han Yu hadn't mentioned this, he would have forgotten that he had an infinity gem in his hand. During this period of time, I have been distracted by other events. I originally wanted to design the illusion according to the design drawings given by Han Yu, but I also forgot. Now it seems that there is no need for illusion. The establishment of the Green Lantern Corps gave the Earth a big protective umbrella. The original intention of Stark to create Vision was to let the Earth have more self-protection ability. It's better to take it out and give it to the Green Lantern Corps. The effect of putting it on the Green Lantern Corps is definitely more useful than Vision itself. Then trouble Ultron to get it, I put the Soul Gem in. Stark explained to Ultron where the Mind Stone is stored, and asked the latter to get it. At the latter's speed, it took less than 10 minutes to get the Mind Stone, which was much faster than letting Stark get it by himself. Ao Chuang looked at Han Yu and asked his opinion with his eyes. The latter nodded to him, and Ao Chuang went to get the Soul Gem. And Han Yu notified Wanda with his mobile phone, asking her to bring people from the Supreme Sanctuary, including Gu Yi. Because Gu Yi is still the Supreme Mage now, letting her come here also means letting her come with the Time Gem. After all of them have come to Wakanda, and it is impossible for Gu Yi to put the Time Gem there. If you bring them together, Wakanda will have 3 infinite gems, and the opponent's invasion will definitely invade Wakanda. During this period, Han Yu and T'Chaka had been deploying troops, and Stark followed as an assistant. Dad, what happened? I received a message that all the weapons in the arsenal have to be taken out. Many of them are weapons of mass destruction. You don't want to attack the outside world, do you? A black girl came towards Han Yu and the others. She talked to T'Chaka as soon as she opened her mouth, and then she noticed Han Yu standing beside him. Something happened. T'Chaka met the girl walking in front of him, turned to Han Yu, and said, "Let me introduce, this is my daughter, Surui, who is in charge of Wakanda's technology. These two are Han Yu. You, Mr. Han, and Mr. Stark." Seeing this kind of place that can be called Wakanda's secret, there are actually 2 people who have never seen it before, and they are a combination of American and Kyushu, which makes this girl named Surui open a pair of curious eyes. Eyes kept looking at them. "Hello, Surui." Stark is greeting Surui. He is very concerned about what T'Chaka said just now. He is in charge of Wakanda technology. If the latter is not joking, then Surui is a real genius. In terms of IQ, he will not even be lower than himself. This made Stark very curious, so the gentleman took the initiative to speak, but Surui ignored him at all, and the latter's eyes were all on Han Yu. "Hi, I'm Han Yu." Han Yu said lightly, but his face was not so cold, not because the other party was a girl, but because the other party was also within Han Yu's recruitment range. Although Surui is from Wakanda and lives in Wakanda, it does not mean that she will always work in Wakanda. Now she is like a girl who helps her family work, but the work level at home is too high. If she can join the Green Lantern Corps, it seems like a good choice. Han Yu looked at this talented girl faintly, and said in his heart. Seeing Surui staring at Han Yu all the time, Stark didn't feel much fluctuation in his heart. He sighed secretly. He looks good anyway, and he's still a rich man. Even if he doesn't like him, he shouldn't ignore him. This kind of situation will happen when you stand with Han Yu, and the other party is a woman. After all, Han Yu has the unique aura of a superior person. He restrained himself, giving people the feeling of absolute confidence. Coupled with his appearance, it's no wonder that a girl like Surui would stare at him. Han Yu discussed with T'Chaka and the others, and the latter planned to send fighters from the Wakanda tribe. Although Wakanda will not attack the outside world, it has never given up on training itself. It is impossible to give up their own training because of the strength of technology. Otherwise, if they lose technology, they can only fall into a passive situation. Therefore, there are still quite a few fighters sent by T'Chaka. Although Wakanda is only a small country with hundreds of thousands of people, there are 10,000 to 20,000 fighters, and they are all very capable. At this point, Ao Chuang can analyze the muscles on their bodies. A soldier king can tell what field the other party is good at by shaking hands. Ao Chuang is even more high-tech, and can analyze their muscular development through computer's degree. From this, we can see their usual level of exercise, which is equivalent to knowing the bottom of others as soon as they see each other. The other side. After receiving the news, Wanda immediately went to tell Guyi about it. How are you going? Guyi in front of her was quietly drinking tea, pouring water and making tea. Her movements were so calm, and there was no fluctuation because of what Wanda said to her. You know, my existence is to protect the sanctuary and the gem of time. But if Thanos invades, you won't be able to resist his subsequent attacks with your strength, Wanda said. The current Thanos has the heart of the universe. Even if it is broken, it is impossible for Guyi to defeat him. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Guyi is just a high-level mage with the word Supreme written on her name. Among all the magicians, she is indeed the top, but the 4 Supreme Mage words are not something that can be owned by being outstanding among rookies. If Wanda is the Supreme Mage, then it is truly well-deserved, because her magic is chaos magic, which belongs to the original magic of the universe, and it is simply not comparable to the magic power of these magic on the earth. Just as Guyi was still hesitating, Wanda's face suddenly changed, and then Guyi also sensed it, and the two stood up together, looking at the sky at the same time. There, 2 large warships and dozens of small and medium-sized warships jumped to the periphery of the Earth through the time-space worm gate. Chapter 234 Assembly. This battleship fleet on the periphery of the Earth was quickly discovered by the department in charge of observing the universe on the Earth. When they projected the images of the outer reaches of the Earth on the big screen, the originally noisy monitoring room suddenly became silent. Everyone held their breath and stared at the scene in front of them dumbfounded. Not long after, the monitoring room boiled up. My God, what is this? God, is the Earth going to die? Is this an aircraft carrier? In that cold and unwarmed universe, 2 giant ships are suspended between the universe, with a total length of over 1,000 meters and a width of hundreds of meters. Even the largest cruise ship on Earth is only 370 meters long and 60 meters wide. 13 meters. And a cruise ship of this size can be said to be a small city on the sea, with everything in it, and now they saw 2 battleships that were bigger than the largest cruise ship on Earth. How could they not be surprised? Let's contact the higher UPS. This kind of matter is beyond our reach. Someone said weakly, this kind of matter should be solved by people like the Avengers, and they really can only watch. Han Yu and his team far away in Wakanda also discovered this incident. Not only Han Yu, but other ordinary people also saw it. Even standing on the ground, they can see a few obvious black streaks in the distant sky. Stay there. They know that something that can be clearly seen on the ground of the Earth means that its volume is really very large. Naturally, the Wakanda people will not think that the sudden appearance of these few black spots is left by God playing PS Trace. Based on what Han Yu said just now, this should be the person who is going to invade the Earth and take the infinite gems, right? King T'Chaka, you should have an emergency shelter here. Hurry up to evacuate the crowd and open Wakanda's protective shield. You have to be prepared. Han Yu said. T'Chaka nodded with a solemn expression. Things were completely beyond his expectations. Now it seems that he is a little lucky that Han Yu found them. An attack of this level can be prepared for if it is known in advance. If it is effected without knowing it, it is really dead without knowing how. Ao Chuang, call the existing members of the Green Lantern Corps and let them come to Wakanda. Han Yu said. Clear. Ultron nodded, and then used the green light ring to send a message to the outside green light ring holders. For about 10 minutes, dozens of green streamers rose from a distance, although not all at the same time. They all flew in one direction, that is Wakanda. The Avengers also received the news. Except for Stark, everyone else including the US team assembled. After learning about this, they entered a fighting state. Banner, why are you here? Now that Hulk is unwilling to come out, you can no longer fight, right? Seeing that Banner was still following him, the US team was a little puzzled. Since the Hulk out of control incident, the Hulk really can no longer appear in people's sight. There was no sense of security brought about by his appearance, it was all fear. Hulk, who has the same heart as a 10-year-old child, also knew about this, so he stopped showing up. Banner tried to communicate with him, but he was just 2 words, no. Even when Banner fell into anger, Hulk was not seen. If he didn't feel that Banner was really in danger and indirectly affected his life, Hulk wouldn't come out. The Earth hates him, and he also hates the Earth. As long as he is on the Earth, it is unlikely that he will come out. Banner smiled wryly, and said, yeah, he won't come out, but I have to atone for my mistakes, I can use Stark's anti-Hulk armor to fight, he has long agreed gone. Captain America opened his mouth, wanting to say it's okay, no one will blame you, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he stopped. Will no one blame him? Shit, the ranking on the internet about who is the most hated hero in the Avengers is still there. Even after so long, Hulk still has the highest votes. The US team also felt that he should not stand at the highest point of morality, and say something for those who lost their relatives and friends because Hulk lost control, let go and face the future. Don't persuade others to be kind without others suffering. Captain America knew this truth very well, so he just opened his mouth, but didn't say anything. Banner can also be considered a victim, because he was passive from the beginning to the end, and there was nothing he wanted to do subjectively. It is embarrassing to be reduced to this point. In the end, the US team just nodded and didn't say anything. Where's Han Yu? Banner asked. He has already gone to Wakanda first, and he intends to set the battlefield there. The American team has a green light ring, and he has naturally received the news that Ultron just released, and knowing the ins and outs of the matter made him calmer than others. Regarding the technological level of Wakanda, Ultron also explained in the green light ring that the message transmitted by the green light ring does not require the ring holder to use his eyes to read and read as usual. As long as the ring bearer agrees, this message will appear in their minds like a memory, and it will feel as if they have experienced this event themselves. This memory will change depending on the sender of the message, and as much as the sender wants others to know, they will let others know. Instead of intercepting a section from memory and sending it directly, this operation is similar to video editing, editing your own memory into several clips. Making a small video and sending it out, so that others can understand things faster, the ins and outs. After all, there are some things that really cannot be shortened. Instead of a lot of blah, 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 blah. Understood, then let's hurry over there. Hearing that Wakanda has this kind of technology, after a brief moment of astonishment, the Avengers immediately organized and rushed to Wakanda. Now there is no need to delay, the sooner the better. Han Yu in Wakanda, standing in front of the members of the Green Lantern Corps, glanced at them. Most of these members are around the age of 30, and they all have a special temperament, presumably they are talents who have reached the top in a certain field. When he was looking at these people were also looking at Han Yu. It was the first time they had seen the chief of the Green Lantern Corps. They had never thought that the chief of the Green Lantern Corps would be so young. At this age, he seemed like a boy who hadn't experienced much. But he had an extremely confident temperament. Even in the face of the scrutiny of so many of them, Han Yu looked relaxed. Chapter 235, The Beginning of the War. Hi everyone, I am the Commander-in-Chief of the Green Lantern Corps, Han Yu. You are all top talents in a certain field. What does it mean to be selected? I believe that you have all had systematic training at the Green Lantern base during this period. Next, you need to go outside the atmosphere to prevent the opponent's giant thermal weapons from harming the Earth, and limit the enemy's available troops to the minimum. Han Yu said to them, but he didn't say that he wanted to defeat the opponent. After all, the green light ring does not mean invincible. What can be called invincible is because Han Yu's mental power is strong, and he can perfectly control the green light ring. But these people in front of them are impossible, or not yet. They have just joined the Green Lantern Corps now, so they can't play a strong role. Thanos' army is menacing, and it's good that they can limit the enemy. Han Yu never thought of letting them kill each other directly. The Green Lantern Corps still needs to grow. If they insist on doing so, it may bring them losses. Han Yu does not intend to recruit many members of the Green Lantern Corps, at most 200 people, but everyone will be a super elite, no more than 3 years. Everyone in the Green Lantern Corps must have at least a planet that can develop similarly to the Earth the power to dominate the world. The Earth belongs to the human realm among the 9 realms. To be able to dominate one of the realms, and to dominate a realm by one's own strength, is already a very powerful thing. If only relying on the natural development of the Earth, there would be no such person in 1,000 years. What Han Yu wanted to build was not only a legion, but also a well-disciplined killer organization. Everyone must have extremely strong strength. Even with Han Yu's unlimited green light energy supply, they must be promoted to the level of the Sub-Celestial Father, that is, the level of Thanos without any cosmic level equipment. This idea is naturally terrifying. A Thanos without any cosmic level equipment can also run amok in the universe with technology, so how strong will the Green Lantern Corps, which has a technological strength far surpassing most of the technology in the universe, be? Woolen cloth. After arranging the order, the members of the Green Lantern Corps soared into the sky and flew towards the atmosphere according to Han Yu's statement. It is true that they were surprised by Han Yu's age, and it is true that they underestimated him because of his age, but they are all people who can distinguish the situation clearly. At this time, they will definitely not get angry with Han Yu. If there is anything to do, it will have to wait until let's talk about it after the matter is over. In the sky, countless flames fell, all of them gathered in one place, and fell on the periphery of Wakanda. There were more than a dozen huge inverted trapezoidal bodies. As soon as they fell to the ground, the alien beasts inside rushed out. Open the shield! Looking at the group of black tides in front of him, T'Chaka yelled sharply, and immediately, a circular protective shield opened up on the periphery of Wakanda City, protecting the entire city in it. Some spaceships that fell from the sky collided with the protective shield, but they were also broken into pieces. This protective shield was developed by Wakanda with great thought. It is no exaggeration to say that its defense level can withstand all known nuclear bomb attacks today, and it can already be said to be invincible in defense on the Earth. And even if nuclear bomb technology is placed in the universe, those planets that are dominated by technology are definitely not pediatrics, so Thanos' fleet has not yet been able to break through this shield. The Green Lantern Corps has reached the periphery of the Earth. They surrounded these 2 surprisingly large warships, but no one launched an attack. Even if the warships attacked them, they only passively defended. It's just that when there are monsters coming out of the other party to cause trouble in other parts of the Earth, you will see several Green Lantern members attacking and knocking out the guys who just got out of the battleship. Although they can't fight against these 2 battleships, it is still very easy for the airship under the battleship to be dealt with by 2 Green Lantern members. As soon as the shield in Wakanda was opened, alien creatures that landed on the Earth launched an attack. The Wakanda fighters who had already recharged their batteries rushed forward screaming and killing. Even though the monsters they faced were grinning and extremely fierce, they were not afraid at all. Don't mess up the formation, control the entrance to the C-37 area, don't let these monsters go around the back. T'Chaka also threw himself into the fight, wearing a panther combat suit made of vibranium, and the impact of the surrounding beasts did him little damage. On the one hand, it is due to his Genjin equipment, and on the other hand, it is also thanks to a special herb in Wakanda, the heart-shaped grass, which gave him this enhanced physique. Missiles fired from afar, killing and wounding the monsters outside. Everyone looked up, and the Avengers members of the US team also came here, joined the battle, and greatly eased the battle on the ground. During the battle, Stark, who bombarded the alien monster in front of him with his palm cannon, took the time to ask, "Where did Han Yu go?" Ultron tore apart an alien beast with a flat face, raised his head to the battleship in the distant sky, and said, "There, these little monsters naturally don't need him to take action. He has gone to deal with the boss." In the sky, Han Yu's figure passed through the laser cannons. Facing the hail of bullets, he did not dodge and went head-on. If you look carefully, you can find that those laser cannons with a radius of 2 or 3 meters are directly turned into nothingness at a distance of 100 meters from Han Yu, but there is no green light energy exposed on him. After becoming a single universe class, my control over the green light ring has become much stronger. Han Yu murmured in his heart, now he does not need to release the green light energy to wrap himself to fly, he can fly directly, and the power of a single universe-level god in his body is enough for him to do this kind of thing. Those oncoming attacks, to him, were just the spray of a 50-cent water gun, which couldn't even penetrate the energy protection force field around him, let alone defeat him. On the way of flying, it was unimpeded. Borrowing the energy of the heart of the universe, Han Yu sensed the specific location of Thanos, and flew directly to his location. The strange thing is that there is no soldier guarding around Thanos' position, and it is completely empty. Do you think it's unnecessary? Han Yu murmured. With his strength, he really stood there to fight them. It would be impossible for them to fight him for 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. Laughing, so Thanos simply won't let it out now. When Han Yu found Thanos, he was a little surprised by the scene in front of him. It was a small desolate yard with simple furnishings. There was a dead old tree with a few leaves hanging on it, as if a blown just drop. There is a table under the old tree, and Thanos sits in front of it. The small yard is very quiet, only the sound of Thanos turning a book from time to time. Chapter 236 The Goddess of Death. Han Yu walked over and did not attack immediately, but looked at him from a distance. Unexpected, really unexpected, what I have been looking for all my life. I thought it would be very good if I could find it, but I didn't expect that there would be a second person in this universe. Thanos raised his head, and when he raised his head, his pupils actually shone with azure blue light, and countless energy from the heart of the universe was released from his eyes. Facing the other parties in different words mixed with overwhelming energy, Han Yu just smiled slightly, sighed lightly, and returned his hands to their old positions, in their pockets. As he sighed softly, the energy that was attacking him also dissipated at this moment. Let's avoid such useless temptations. If you have any moves, let them come and see if you can hit them enough. Han Yu held his head up slightly, and when facing the enemy, he naturally no longer had the faint smile before, but a somewhat arrogant expression, squinting his eyes and staring at Thanos in front of him. I've never seen such an arrogant person when I grow up. His own attack was easily resolved by the opponent. Thanos didn't feel so surprised, but felt normal. After all, how can a person who can get the other half of the heart of the universe be ordinary? Hey, now you see it. Han Yu spread his hands, and after his words fell, the air in this small world seemed to become cold. In just a few breaths, the surrounding trees and ground were covered with a thin layer of frost. In this cold air, a black light was faintly flashing in it, which brought Thanos a feeling of breathlessness. Uplifted feeling. There will be no fancy battles in the battle between Marvel's single cosmic gods, and even on Thanos, there will be no scenes of energy shooting. Even with such powerful energy, the only way Thanos can think of fighting is to attach it to a weapon and then slash. At this time, Thanos was holding a double-edged sword, and the blade was covered with a thick layer of blue crystals, which was the energy from the heart of the universe. In Han Yu's hand, one hand was holding Bing Lun Wan behind his back, and the other hand was holding a clear sky hammer with a soul ring floating up and down on it. He looked at Thanos and said calmly, I want to ask you, why would you do that? This question was endless. If someone was present, they would never know what Han Yu was asking. But Thanos knew it all, and said, why? Of course it's for fun. I want them to die. I want to sacrifice their souls to others as my gift. You are an ordinary person, you must not knowing what kind of existence exists in this universe, it is a super god who can bring her happiness only when the soul falls. Hearing what he said, the last trace of kindness towards Thanos in Han Yu's heart has disappeared. The original Thanos in his memory before is not a big villain, but an extreme peacemaker for the balance of the universe. In the previous universe, most of the living planets were exhausted by the living beings on the planet, and the resources of the planet were exhausted, resulting in the multiplication of dead living beings, and they even wanted to harm other planets. In this case, if you speak well, the other party will definitely not listen. As for what Thanos did in the original work, although it is very unfair and uncomfortable for human beings, this kind of discomfort can be wiped out after only 200 years at most, and the remaining surviving creatures will only be better. If it was based on this, Han Yu might not have killed Thanos, he could have abolished him and left him to live for the elderly, but now hearing what he said, those acts of slaughtering living beings were all just for a certain person. Han Yu pondered for a moment, then slowly said, for death. After he said the name, the proud expression on Thanos' face froze, and then his body began to tremble slightly, which was caused by excitement. Why do you know, why? Hearing this, Han Yu was a little speechless. Well, what I met was not Thanos, a family planning officer, but Thanos who licked the dog. Now he is aware of Thanos' behavior. In order to please the legendary god of death among the 5 creation gods, she has no name. According to the news Han Yu knows, she usually appears in a female form, and just called Death. Just when the two were about to start fighting, there was a flash in the room, and two figures appeared in it. Ganada! Die! Seeing the two people who appeared suddenly, Hanyu and Thanos both popped out two names. One of the people who appeared suddenly was Ganada, whom Hanyu was familiar with, and the other was a woman who was perfect to the extreme. It was Hanyu. His face froze when he saw this scene. No wonder Thanos was so fascinated. The appearance and figure of the goddess of death are beyond the reach of ordinary people, not to mention her aura. Death? You came out, you can sit there and wait for a while, I will offer you the most wonderful death of life. I believe you will be satisfied with this. I don't know why the goddess of death came out, but Thanos, the old licking dog, shouted at her infatuatedly. But who would have thought that the goddess of death would ignore him at all, and instead look straight at Hanyu? After a moment, her red lips parted slightly. You are interesting. Being named by such a great god, even if the other party is a woman who is too beautiful to describe in words, Hanyu still feels creepy, and he froze in place for a moment, not knowing what to say. Hey, you are stupid. I specially found this great god for you. Death doesn't just appear in the eyes of the world. You have to thank me. Ganada jumped up and down in front of Hanyu and said. Hanyu asked in disbelief, how did you bring her here, and how could you bring her here? I have a good relationship with her. I feel that she is nearby, why don't I go find her? Ganada looked indifferent. Hanyu's face was full of question marks. Are you on good terms? People like you, is there any relationship? Gods at the level of the goddess of death have no emotions and desires. Since there are no emotions and desires, how can they be related? Hanyu looked at Ganada with a look of surprise on his face, and the latter gave him a proud expression. What he was thinking, Ganada naturally knew that if he could have a good relationship with the goddess of death, it was Ganada's. It's up to you. Hanyu opened his mouth and wanted to speak, when he heard a voice from Thanos not far away. Impossible, impossible. She looked at you and talked to you. It's impossible. She never spoke to me. Chapter 237 Thanos Who Died Funny, Finale. Well, Hanyu just remembered that there was a Thanos watching not far away. This die-hard fan of the goddess of death has never paid any attention to what he has done for death over the years. Even so, he is still willing to do things for her. Thanos feels that the other party will appear in front of him, which is already a kind of recognition for him, which is invisible to ordinary people. Unexpectedly, the goddess of death not only appeared in front of Hanyu, but also looked at him and even spoke. This is the treatment that Thanos has never had before. Now seeing it with my own eyes, how can I not make him go crazy? Death, don't make any wrong decisions about him, Hanyu can't die, he still has so many fun things to show. Hearing Death speak to Hanyu, Ganada protected Hanyu, and the first half of the sentence moved the latter a little bit. The more he heard it, the more something went wrong. Did his feelings treat him as a tool? I don't want to do anything either. The ethereal voice of the goddess of death came, it seemed to come from that red lips, and it seemed to come from all directions. It was extremely mysterious. I want you to die. Thanos turned red-eyed, and the goddess of death actually spoke to Hanyu again, which gave him a lot of stimulation, and rushed towards Hanyu with a big knife wrapped in the energy of the heart of the universe. You're always so annoying. The goddess of death frowned slightly. Even such a small expression made Thanos feel stupid for a while. The next second, he saw the goddess of death raised her hand and pointed at him delicately. The strong Thanos quickly dried up at this time. The muscles on his body shrank instantly and became old, and in the blink of an eye, he became a dry old man. The goddess of death raised her finger, and a big hole was opened in Thanos' chest in an instant, and a heart shining with blue light floated tremblingly, suspended in front of Hanyu. I don't know this, is it enough for us to make friends? The words of the goddess of death dealt the final blow to Thanos, and suddenly felt a surge of blood in his throat, and it spurted out suddenly. He never thought that after so many years of work for the goddess of death, and so many deaths for him, he would die in her hands in the end, and it was still used as a gift for his opponent. Thanos kept his eyes open until he died, staring blankly at Hanyu. His empty eyes seemed to be still asking why. Looking at the mummy, the goddess of death waved her hand in disgust, and Thanos' body turned into nothingness. Hanyu looked at the heart of the universe floating in front of him, and was dumbfounded. He had just been brewing with Thanos for so long, the atmosphere was full, and he was preparing for a battle of the century. Why did the goddess of death suddenly appear, and Thanos was killed suddenly? In this way, Hanyu felt that his breath was stuck in his throat but he couldn't get it out. He thought that these ancient gods would not show up easily, but now she actually said that she wanted to make friends with him. Can you believe it? Death, goddess, there is too much difference in status between us. It seems not good to take your things rashly. Han Yu said with a dry laugh. If you absorb the heart of the universe, won't you be able to improve your strength again? After you collect it, your strength and mine will not differ too much. The goddess of death said lightly. What she said made Han Yu tremble violently. If it was on earth, it would seem that the other party was interested in him. But in front of such a super god as the goddess of death, Han Yu felt like being raised as a guinea pig. But it's impossible for Han Yu not to want it. The heart of the universe is real, so don't let it go in vain. Now that Thanos has been resolved, those alien beasts on Wakanda don't have to care. Han Yu snapped his fingers, and the energy of the heart of the universe overflowed on the ground. The alien beasts belonging to Thanos were all shaken into nothingness, and the injured humans were healed. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky. The man standing in the sky was so illuminated by the sun that he could only see a black shadow. At this moment, everyone felt that the real god had descended. He destroyed these invading alien forces on the ground with absolute posture, and healed the injured humans, which made him more like a god in front of humans. In this country that still has ancient tribal customs, many people even began to worship, thinking that this is the real arrival of the gods. Hey, it's much faster than I thought. Ao Chuang breathed a sigh of relief. Although this is not a bloody battle, considering so many mortals around him, he suppressed himself very much in the fight. Otherwise, if the enemy dies, the teammate will also die. Boss, what shall we do next? Ao Chuang Fei approached Han Yu and asked him. Han Yu looked at the heart of the universe in his hand and said, let them solve the rest by themselves. We don't need to do everything for them. After all, Han Yu left with Ao Chuang and Ganada, and the goddess of death followed behind them. By the way, you will take someone to find out about the two warships in the sky later. This can be used as our air command, which is much better than building on the ground. Han Yu still didn't forget the two space battleships brought by Thanos on the outskirts of the Earth. In this battle, Thanos died extremely miserably, which made Han Yu sigh, licking a dog, it's so pitiful. Afterwards, the power of the Green Lantern Corps grew extremely fast, and Thanos' previous damage to the Earth rekindled the belief in justice in many people's hearts, so they were selected by the Green Lantern Ring. In just 30 days, the Green Lantern Corps actually had more than 50 more members of the Green Lantern Ring, and the Green Lantern Corps grew instantly. According to Han Yu's previous thinking, the Green Lantern Corps became the police in the universe, responsible for supervising something is too unbalanced in the universe. It's just that these are all things for later. In New York City, hidden in the city, an inconspicuous grocery store is spread out on a certain street. No one passing by will pay attention to it, only a few people will cast strange eyes after passing by. Just because the name of this grocery store is too strange, it's called There is a Grocery Store. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.